the real Christ and the real Antichrist. I'm going to first explain this section from a numerological perspective. Numerology is a form of relational thinking that can be used to illustrate conceptual ideas. It is an occult relational thinking system. That's what numerology really is. Applying this relational thinking can allow the concept to open into a deeper understanding. Symbolism, allegory, and metaphor can also serve this purpose. A good example of this numerological relational thinking can be found in the New Testament book of Revelation, in the form of the verse, "Let he who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man." It is a mistranslation to translate that as the number of a man. That's not the term in Hebrew. It is the number of man, meaning mankind, humankind, humanity. So what is the number of humanity? What do they mean by that? Let's explore what this actually means in context. In esoteric numerology, 3 numbers are often studied in relation to each other because of the concepts they have been selected to represent. Understanding this relationship can help to open up a conceptual understanding of such a biblical verse, and therefore to understand what is meant by the quote-unquote Antichrist. So to understand the number 666 in the book of Revelation, you have to understand it in relationship to 2 other numerological, traditional, conceptual numbers. You have to understand it in relationship to 777, 777, and in relationship to 888. In ancient numerological systems, the number 666 was chosen to represent humanity in a state of low consciousness. This represents the beast, or an antichrist mentality, the opposite of Christ consciousness. Pure egotism, pure physical identification, no spirituality, dwelling in pure selfishness, dwelling in ignorance, dwelling in apathy, dwelling in non-action and cowardice. That's the 666. You failed in the 3 aspects of consciousness. And that's what these numbers represent. That's why they're all trinities. It's to represent the Trinity, the Holy Trinity inside of us, our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. That's why they're all triple digits. They're taking the 888 as the divine infinity, the perfection, which man will never arrive at. Certainly not in the physical domain. Okay? The 777 is the one that stands in between God and the beast. That's the man in as perfected of a state, or at least as developed spiritually of a state as he's going to get in the physical world. This is that Christ consciousness that we're talking about, being in the world but not of it. The 777 traditionally represented humanity embodying a higher level of consciousness, or Christ consciousness, being in the world but not of it. The word Christ is actually derived from the Greek Christos, meaning morally good, virtuous, or holy. This is why they put 777 on the jackpot machines, the slot machines in the casino. It's very interesting. I've done quite a bit in my life, actually. I'll give you a quick anecdote here. I actually used to work for a technology company in Princeton, New Jersey, big occult think tank center of the Eastern Seaboard, actually. I worked for a popular technology company, which I will not name, but I was their lead Macintosh technician. And this is probably the biggest, one of the bigger tech companies in central New Jersey. I was their lead Mac technician, and they would always send me to Atlantic City and to, not Vineland, Pleasantville. It's called Pleasantville, New Jersey. Okay? This is where there's a company that makes all of the Atlantic City slot machines. I won't mention the name of it, but they make almost all the slot machines for Atlantic City casinos. And I worked I supported computers in the graphic department of that business and troubleshot the graphics that they put on the slot machines. So I would see this all over the place. Like 777 was just everywhere in this business, And, I understood then what it meant, and, this is why they put these numbers on the slot machines. They're trying to sell you on something that they know that very deep nested in your subconscious, has been traditionally used to represent spirituality, high-level spirituality. They know that's what people crave but yet are missing, and that's what they sell you in proxy, so that they can just keep all that wealth flowing to them. 888 always represented in numerological traditions the threefold infinity, the creator, natural law, perfection in the absolute, which man is not and never will be. Humanity cannot be the 888, for there is no such thing as perfection in the flesh, but we can become the 777, the one who embodies natural law, a herald for natural law, who embodies Christ consciousness, who is morally good, virtuous, holy, if you will, meaning whole, not divided amongst themselves, not torn apart by the adversarial consciousness of the 666, the beast, the divider, the opposer, Satan in Hebrew. We can become the 777 when we work on ourselves and purify thought, emotion, and action. The three aspects of consciousness, the divine trinity within us. When humanity remains spiritually unconscious, they can be said in the numerological tradition to embody the number 666, representing failure in thought, emotion, and action, the three aspects of human consciousness. This is why 666 is considered the number of the beast, the satanic or antichrist consciousness. The people of this world who dwell in ignorance, apathy, laziness, and cowardice are savages or beasts from a true spiritual perspective, and their consciousness essentially exists only in the animal/reactive mind. They are the true antichrist, the beast, and their thoughts and behaviors work continually to kill the true Christ consciousness. And this is what is meant in the book of Revelation by he who has understanding will calculate the number of the beast, because it is the number of mankind. Mankind dwells in satanic consciousness, in antichrist consciousness, which is why we're enslaved and not free. In the aggregate, let me caveat that by saying, there are people who do dwell in the Christ consciousness. There are people who are on their way to dwelling in that higher level of consciousness. They're on that path. But in the aggregate, humanity is still the beast. Christian prophecies foretell of an antichrist, a false impersonator Christ, who will come and deceive the whole world during the end of days. Understood properly, this concept translates to the people who are falsely claiming to embody Christ and the ideals of Christ. The Antichrist is not one person. The real Antichrist is a way of thinking, feeling, and acting. False modern-day Christianity has brought this massive deception to fruition because they're peddling what they say is Christ consciousness, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with the real article. Today, the greater body of those who claim to be quote-unquote Christian actually embody the antithesis of Christ consciousness. Fake-ass Christians are the Antichrist.